Hello.
Hello. You're outnumbered, Melissa, by a big number today.
Why, you're all in Texas?
We're all Texas. And Barak is a well-known exhibitor. He owns and operates the Texas Theater.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Barak is been a friend for a long time and a huge supporter of movies in Dallas and very well respected as an independent theater owner as well. So Barak, welcome to our little podcast at the movies. And we really put this together to talk about, really from the exhibitor point of view, what's going on with movies and our love for movies and what's happening in the background. So we're going to just have about a 30-minute casual discussion, and we want to hear your side of things, and we'll just jump in. So thank you for joining us today. It's a real pleasure to have you on.
Well, thank you, Brandon, for having me.
You bet. So I'm going to jump right in. What is your favorite thing about being an exhibitor?
Favorite thing, it's being able to, share a movie maybe that you like a lot with others that maybe who haven't seen it, and then have them kind of create their own experience that they take home and they remember. Oftentimes, it's in the repertory programming is what I'm talking about, which is mostly what we do here at the Texas Theater, is show repertory. So that's the most satisfying thing to me.
Do you have a favorite memory or a proudest moment while you've been there at the Texas Theater? And when did you reopen the Texas Theater and spin this up again? Because it truly is a landmark.
Well, the Texas Theater, was built in 1931, owned briefly by Howard Hughes, and then became famous on 11/22/63 as the location of Lee Harvey Oswald's capture while he was watching a movie called War is Hell. Basically, it was sort of owned by different iterations of United Artists for 50 years. They closed in 89. It was used in the movie production of Oliver Stone's JFK. This theater played a lot of the movie theaters over its time, but JFK is the only one where the Texas Theater plays itself. And it's closed for a long time in the 90s, sort of stopped and started. A group got together called the Oak Cliff Foundation around 2001 and bought it from someone who was basically going to potentially tear it down. And they started spending time and money to do a lot of work on the theater. And they did a lot of infrastructure work between 2001 and 2009-10, but they didn't have anybody running it. So I put together a group in 2010 to take over the theater, and that's how long we've been running it until March 15th of this year. Now we run it in the parking lot.
Yeah, we'll get to the COVID, debacle here in a second. But do you have a favorite memory or a proudest moment of the last 10 years? And by the way, when is the actual 10-year anniversary?
Well, it's this year. It would probably be this December. We had a couple stops and starts, but I would say our grand opening was end of December, even though we did some pop-ups all through the second half of 2010. But I'm going to say, it's hard for me to say like number one. I have some that are like top five. I'm going to say definitely in the top five, and I'm going to say this because James is on the call, but maybe not. When we did the RoboCop screening here for Div, I think it was 2012, we had a 35 millimeter print of RoboCop. We had Peter Weller in the house. We had all the producers, the writers. It was the 25th anniversary screening, full house in here, people. It was a big red carpet that Diff set out front. Peter Weller's baby was here. I mean, it was like a whole thing. What's that guy's name? What's John Davidson, right?
Yeah, John Davis.
John Davidson was here, and he was the writer and one of the producers. He also was the voice of ED209. We have a RoboCop arcade, which I bought pretty much for the occasion, and he signed our RoboCop arcade. It was a great screening. It was also really stressful because at the time we didn't have DCP. Not many people did, and we had invested a lot in 35. And for some reason, even though we had spent in 35, when we would do big screenings, people were like, I don't know, should we show 35? It seems like the print might have some scratches. I was like, yeah, that's the point. And there was, and back in those days, it was always like, what do we need to bring in some other projector? I was like, no, let's show the print. And I just remember that was a big topic of conversation with me and James and the whole team. And it was a great print, and it was
beautiful
awesome.
Print. That was one of the best screenings of my entire life. I love that. I got to wear a RoboCop helmet and Robo Baby. That's what we kept calling Weller's baby, Robo Baby. Was on stage with everybody. I was like, this is nuts. It was a great show. God, I missed that.
And I feel like it's the best screening that's happened to RoboCop in Dallas. I know that they did one at the police department a couple years ago outside, which was, I wasn't at that one, but I heard that one was great. Peter Weller was not at that screening, I don't think.
It was not.
So James, you win. The screening where we had Peter Weller, unless we had like Paul Verhoeven, I don't know how that screening would have been.
And believe me, I tried real hard to get Paul Verhoeven.
I mean, that would have been insane.
In the house.
But that's got to be right up there with one of the best things we've done here for sure.
Yeah. And Brandon, I just want to jump in real quick. So the Texas Theater is iconic. I mean, not only we do if we have a big splashy, we need something great retro screening to do, or even something that's not opening night or something, we want to do at the Texas Theater. And I mean, just from a personal note, that's the theater, my engagement photos, we took our engagement photos when, thanks Brock for changing the marquee for us as well, as at the Texas Theater. Or even, I think there's something else that is crazy. Yeah, friends of mine getting married at the Texas Theater. It's just this really great local icons. It's theater history, and the fact that it's in our town, it's just amazing.
But for sure, all those. And then while I got you, I'm thinking of other ones that we've done. A lot of the screenings that we did for Diff in the early years of when we started were great screenings. Remember that screening of not 54. What's the Michael Caine's movie about the dance club?
Start Club.
Start Club.
That was crazy.
Which was technically like way oversold. This room seats 650. And I remember, I think I was talking to you and you were like, I think we sold 750. I was like, James, we seat 650. And we were like, that was a crazy screening because there was probably the most number of people who'd been in this building for a movie.
There were some fire problems in that building.
But there was no fire at that day. You're making it sound like there were no
fires today, but there were. Yeah, it was full.
Yeah, but I remember also like I think the movie wasn't done like 12 hours before the screening, and I was like talking to the editor, and he was like, "I'm going to render this dissolve, and then I'm going to export it out." I was like, "The screening's tomorrow, bro," and he was like, "Oh no, we're fine." Like, that was a stressful one for those reasons.
Definitely. Oh, good God.
What did you guys do with the extra 100 people? If you sold 750, where did you get out folding chairs?
You want to tell them what happened?
I think we probably put 700 in here. Our fire code is actually 750. So maybe that's what you were going off of.
Yeah, I was, because I was thinking, man, this is insane. I did the balcony. So the makeup of the theater is like Rock, want to talk about how it is upstairs?
Sure,
like,
go for it.
So downstairs, there's like 600 and something.
650 seats plus there's some room up in the front.
Yeah, but there's a balcony in this place when that hasn't been refurbished or not, and
Correct.
So that could be another 200 or 500 or something like that.
Back in the day, it was 500 or 600. Yeah, but I think we put some people ad hoc up there, even though we didn't. Yeah, so some people sat up there. I think some people just like decided not to watch the movie and eat pizza in the lounge instead. So I think the call got out to like, if you're a Diff employee, please do not take a seat.
That's what it was. Like, don't show up to the screening, please.
Yeah.
Don't need you at the screening.
You guys, people who are probably listening, they're like, "What is Diff? I don't know what that means."
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, you Texas people. There are people outside of your state. I know it's hard to believe.
Explain what you do.
They already know. So everybody knows.
What does it stand for?
Dallas International Film Festival. So that's my gig as artistic director, and we use theaters all around town because we don't own our own theater. And when we need enough seats, Texas is the one that we go to because it's always going to be a big splash. Like we did Blues Brothers anniversary screening there that one time with.
I came to that screening.
Yeah, with John
Landis was
here, and it was really crazy. And they had the car out front with the big with two fake Blues Brothers guys who
stormed.
They came late. They tried to do a Blues Brothers and show up late, like in the movie. And it was like, this isn't working. People are not going to be here an hour waiting for the fake Blues Brothers band. I think, come on. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, Landis was great. There's so many great screenings there. It's a lot of fun. That same year, Start Club, we also did another a faith-based action type thing, and that was also crazy sold out on stage.
Did you do that here?
Yeah, Believe Me is what it was called.
Oh, I remember that one. Was Christopher McDonald in that?
Yeah, Christopher McDonald was there. Yeah,
I remember that screening. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, oh my God, these are Zachary Knighton, Christopher McDonald, and I can't think of the other people in that film, but it was stupid packed. It was one of those things where if you get that place packed, you get 700 people in that thing, the energy is off the chain.
Well, that's usually one of those where, like, I don't remember, if I remember correctly, that wasn't one that we had planned to do here. That was like, you guys were selling and like we had to make a move, and I was like, let's do it kind of thing.
It was exactly that. It was a Saturday night and something cleared up for you. And so, and Barak is very well versed in film festivals because he also created the Oak Cliff Film Festival, which is where the Texas Theater is. Is that coming up on? I guess this year would have been at 6.
Well, no, this was 9 actually.
9. Sorry, Mike.
2021 will be the 10th year. We called it not the Oak Cliff Film Festival. We did a small one-night virtual program where we didn't exactly, curate off of our submissions list. We actually offered refunds to everybody, and instead we just curated a night of short films by filmmakers we had hosted before with feature work, and then did a Q&A that we live streamed kind of like this, and it was free, and we did donations, so we did it as a small thing, but I think we were still calling it 9, so next year will be 10. And hopefully it will be IRL in full capacity.
Right. Barak, who are some of the more famous people since you've been operating the Texas Theater in the last 10 years that have shown up there? I know that's been featured on a couple late night shows, and you've had some other major celebrities come in.
I mean, we've had people do, performance. Obviously, we've had John Waters here perform. We've had Kevin Smith perform. And those are like tours where they're here, they're touring on their performance / movie. Kevin Smith has a system down for his movies, man. And he's open about it. It's not like private information about how much money he makes. He tries to make $100,000 a night. And if you follow his Instagram, he lines it out. And the night that we were here.
Yeah, now let's go follow his Instagram.
Yeah, we were like, I was like, Kevin Smith's doing fine. But there's a system anyway. Who else? But we've had people just kind of show up and hang out. Conan O'Brien just showed up to hang out one night.
I remember that.
Lars Ulrich just showed up because he heard
Oh my God.
So people, like, unofficially, stuff like that happens all the time.
Did Jay-Z come?
Jay-Z did not come. Apparently he went to Mesa down the street.
Oh, okay.
And he did not pop in here, but Mesa was a hot spot for a minute. And I think Conan went and ate there. And so sometimes we would get that, or vice versa. People would come here and then they'd go there, things like that. So it's always fun to get that sort of thing happen here. It's really neat.
I think Michael Rappaport was there his podcast at one time. Then didn't Ice Cube show up on stage with you?
Showed up. Ice Cube,
that's right. Yeah.
He was just here. We were like, and it wasn't sold out. We were like, oh crap! People are missing out. It wasn't Rappaport was promoting his podcast, and you kind of should have guessed that. But
because they were in town for the Big 3 tournament. Yeah,
they're all here.
It's like,
But I tell you what, James, like, most people were more excited to see Charles Oakley that night than
I was. I wanted to go up and see if he'd knock me down. I was like, right?
He's a big dude, and he looked pretty tough. He's about 60 years old, but he looked like he could take 10 guys at once.
Yeah, punch people in the neck.
What was his nickname when he was in the NBA?
Oh my God, I'm trying to think what Oakley's nickname
was. Didn't he have like a tough guy nickname?
It wasn't the microwave. What was his nickname?
Let's Google.
All right.
Sorry.
We're getting into basketball.
I'm gonna produce on the side. You guys keep rolling.
No, I was just remembering that the eventizing of the theater seems to help, pay the bills going forward.
They say Oak Tree was his middle name.
Okay. I feel like he had like a tough name.
Yeah, I thought that was. It's not as cool as I was hoping it would be. Like, it's no fridge or microwave or other kitchen appliance.
Are microwaves really that tough, though?
Well,
What?
if you've ever stuck your hand in one while it's going, I'm just saying.
So that kind of talks about...
We had Fred Armisen. That was the other one I was just thinking of.
Oh my God.
That was technically the fastest sellout we've ever had. Sold out in about 700 seats in about 3 minutes.
What was the screening for that one?
It wasn't. He was doing a show called Comedy for Musicians, but Everybody's Welcome.
Yeah.
So he basically does stand up behind a drum set. It's fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And that's kind of the thing.
Netflix show out, a new Netflix movie out.
But I guess you didn't ask that before, but essentially we're mostly a movie theater, but we do performance here as well. And so it's very easy to do, comedy type shows, podcast type shows, filmmakers who tour, who are also basically comedians or who do monologues. And then it's great for somebody like Kevin Smith because he can basically get up there and do 30 minutes of comedy. He doesn't call it that, but he does 30 minutes of material and then we show his film. So we love it when there are personalities who have an experience that they can present and go on the road, and we can accommodate those kinds of shows.
That's amazing. So what have you been doing to survive for the last 6 months in the theater space? And then also are you reopened? Are you getting reopened? What does this future look like for you?
So we closed just like everybody else did in the beginning of March, middle of March, and we sat tight for a while. We jumped on. What
was the last movie you put on screen?
Actually, it was The Exorcist.
Fitting.
We were doing a promotion with A24 for a film called Saint Maud that hasn't come out yet.
Right.
And we were doing repertory around it, and one of the picks was The Exorcist, and that ended up being the last thing we ran.
What will be the next thing you put on screen?
Well, so let me go back a notch. So basically, we didn't show anything. We quickly started the virtual thing. We had virtual films up by that second week of March, and we jumped on doing those, and then we started doing curbside for a minute. A lot of theaters were doing, curbside pickup of concessions and merch and other things like that. And then we were thinking about maybe we would come back in July, but then obviously that the world changed. So we switched to doing screenings in our parking lot, which we call the Texas Theater Sunset Drive-In. We call it the Sunset Drive-In because it faces a street called Sunset, and also Oak Cliff has these great sunsets. So we wheel out a rig out into the parking lot. We actually run out of our power. We can use house power. We've got an FM radio rig, and we do, remote concessions. People buy concessions on their phone, and then we deliver it. So basically, touchless transactions all the way around. People stay in their car. We do let people go inside to use the restroom. They walk in the back door out the alley, and they can go straight into the restroom, so they don't have to walk through the lobby. We don't let anybody into the lobby. And we've been doing that pretty much successfully since mid-July is when we started that program. We only fit 35 cars a night, or 35 cars a screening. So, roughly 70 people a screening can watch a film on the inflatable screen back there. But it's been really successful. We're doing, 3 or 4 to 5 shows a week. Almost all of them have sold out, essentially. We started last week with First Run. We did Bill and Ted, Face the Music outside. And that was a lot of fun. And we're keeping it going. We haven't, even though some theaters most theaters actually are reopening now, we're going to sit tight for a little while longer because our outside program is working. Also, I don't want to talk about it too much on this, but we are working on doing some work inside the theater. So as we pending this work that we're doing, I don't want to bring people in and then tell people they have to go back out for a bit. So hopefully I'll be able to talk a little bit more about that soon. But so that's why we're going to stick with the drive-in thing for a while. We've been doing outdoor screenings at other places too. We'll go to other locations. We're about to announce a really cool thing at an offsite location that we're going to be doing in a few weeks. So that's our game for now. That's amazing. You've been very innovative. So congrats on all that success. That's really cool. And you guys are always that way. So that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
So, Barak, I've got one more question for you, and we've got to be cautious of time here for everybody. So, talk to us a little bit about how you market the Texas Theater and really kind of what your marketing style is.
Well, for marketing, it's different, and it's different now than it would normally be. For a touring, performance type show, we usually have a presenter who's a promoter, third party. For the shows that we normally would do, which would be local bands and movies, we just promote ourselves with old school, street team style posters all over the place, and heavy presence on social media and boosts and all that good stuff. Lately, the past 6 months, obviously, we got to be careful with our spending. So we're not doing much of any from PR. We're just leaning on, non-paid social and web and everything like that. We're tiptoeing back into doing a little Facebook ads just now because we get a lot of different screenings happening. But for the most part, it's newer school, online kind of ads mixed with old school street team.
I have one final question.
Uh-huh.
Let me squeeze it in, Brandon. What's your favorite part about the movie going experience? Like, why did you get into this business in a theater specifically?
Well, my goal originally was to be able to showcase movies that weren't getting seen outside of festivals, right? So, a lot of films that pretty much would just play at a festival and that was it, or they would be just outside the mainstream where the major indies wouldn't be playing them, and I just saw so many of them falling through the cracks, and that I always thought that there was room for another venue in town to be able to showcase that kind of stuff. We quickly realized early on that showing a film festival movie on a Tuesday at 9 p.m. out of context of a film festival doesn't really work. So that's why we created a film festival of our own. It's nothing again. Obviously, there's lots of film festivals in town, but there's a reason why film festivals are film festivals, and not just random screenings. And that moved our focus into multimedia type stuff, live performance, repertory, things like that. And those are the things that we all loved as well. But we just had to change our focus on how we presented festival type movies, basically.
Gotcha. Hey, Barak, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you for sharing your stories with us. And man, we've got so much more to dive into. So hopefully we will have you back on this little podcast at the movies. And best of luck to you and the Texas Theater as we all come out of this. We're excited about your big news.